Hello, welcome to Beta Alpha Psi's leadership module on strategic decision making, paying particular attention to how we use accounting information to make strategic decisions within organisations. So let me share my screen with you, and what I'm going to provide in this video is a brief introduction to what the assignment will be and how the event is going to run when we meet next Wednesday. So the materials that you should have received by now is an email directed to you from the Board of Directors. Within that email, you should have had your team role assigned to you. So there were fairly comprehensive instructions communicated within that email that required you to complete the situation analysis that was provided to you in hard copy form. And you were required to do that as a team and to get that task completed. And that was actually your first objective in this assignment and in this, well, not assignment, but in this module, in getting yourself prepared for events and also in a professional setting is really important. So that you're able to contribute on whatever the subject matter may be, but also that you are seen to be interested and enthusiastic and a keen learner. And obviously those types of qualities are really important for any young professional to have. So I guess I want to just spend a few moments and explain why I've chosen a simulation-based learning and what I think the benefits are, in particular in business. So I'm sure that you've thought of quite a few professions that deal with simulations, and a few spring to mind in terms of pilots, engineers, doctors, surgeons, but where, and I guess the reason for that is that all of those professions and all of those industries have dire consequences. So if you think about it, a pilot, my preference when a pilot flies the plane, I'm hoping he's had lots and lots and lots and lots of hours behind a simulator to understand the reaction time of the pilot, to understand the psychological makeup of the pilot, and all of those things. So that's why we use simulation-based learning in order to use hypothetical situations where we can make decisions, we can practice our decision-making within a fail-proof and environment. So obviously there are numerous different professions that utilize those simulations. If you think of engineers, again, before a bridge is built, you will kind of want to have an idea of how much weight that bridge can take in terms of how many cars can cross at any one time, what the weight of that will be, what the wind direction should be, all of those things. And the reason, again, is that there are dire consequences should any of those factors be ill-considered. And I guess in business, it's slightly different in that whilst we may not have tactile lives in our hands, the impacts of accounting information and the use of accounting information in decision making and making some either good decisions or some, really bad decisions that some companies have made, I think is important as well. So I think if we think back to the Enron cases and the early corporate collapses of the early 2000s, it was found, there was actually a number of studies found that the majority of the senior management of all of the big name companies that succumbed to these corporate collapses, they were all educated at Harvard Business School. And it was found that between a particular between a particular year, like from the 50s to the late 80s, there was really no ethical modules included in the training at Harvard Business School. So simulation-based learning, again, in business is really important, because accounting information has been used to justify some pretty dodgy decisions, as well as probably some pretty good ones. So I thought it was a good idea to maybe get you guys involved in this, and depending on how we go on the particular day and how much interest there is from you, there could be a possibility where we might extend this into another maybe online session if you guys are interested enough to continue the simulation. Because on the day, I don't think that we're going to get through playing the entire simulation game. But I know I've used this simulation for numerous years. I know that once you get involved in it, students become really quite competitive, and you really do participate really well in these types of activities. So I'd be interested to see whether or not you might want to extend the activity. So again, I guess the most important thing that I think that I wanted to stress after completing this module, I was hoping that you'd understand the difference between what strategic direction is and how companies may choose to adopt certain strategic directions, and be able to explain how that accounting information can be used to assist in that decision-making process. We're going to talk about tactical decisions and strategic decisions and the difference between them both. We're going to talk about how organisations are interconnected, and how, I guess, the common language is the accounting data and the accounting information that people use to justify the decisions that they've made. And I guess that's where I think the main objective for me is that you're able to use. Not all decisions are good, okay? Sometimes we make dodgy decisions even after we've done the best research, we've really done excellent due diligence, but for whatever reason, sometimes bad outcomes just happen. And the importance of learning from those bad outcomes is, what can we do differently to change that outcome potentially in the future? So being able to justify your decision with sound reasoning and using evidence-based reasoning, I think, is what my main priority of this exercise is. And obviously, we're going to have competing perspectives. So understanding the importance of effective communication within this task is really important as well. So what are we going to do on the day? So first of all, let me introduce you to your board of directors. So I'm Daniela Jurek. I'm also the faculty advisor for Monash, and this is Mr. Derek Lee, who is the faculty advisor for Melbourne University, and also Dr. John Webster, who is the faculty advisor at Swinburne. So we're the board of directors that you're going to be reporting to, okay? You will have some assistance from us. We're not going to leave you high and dry, but I'm hoping that you've also done some of those exercises beforehand, because that will impact on how much we can actually get done on that day. So as you will know, you've received some materials beforehand. You are part of this management team of this listed manufacturing company. So you're going to use various forms of accounting information with financial and non-financial aspects to, firstly, set the strategy of the company. You're going to implement the strategy by making decisions for your company in the functional areas that we're going to discuss in a moment. And you're also going to have to justify your decisions to the board of directors. Okay, so let me give you a little bit of a debrief, and hopefully this works and you are able to see it. If not, I will provide you a link.
Welcome to your CAPSIM business simulation. You're about to have a great opportunity to run a complete business and experience how each department interacts with each other to help you achieve your business goals. This is as close to real-world experience as you can get in a classroom. And so, congratulations! You are now in charge of a multi-million-dollar company. Let's do a quick orientation. We'll take a look around the place. Your company manufactures and sells electronic sensors, a product that's found in a wide variety of devices and industries. Sensors are everywhere, in cars, elevators, and smartphones. So there's strong demand for the product you make. However, you're not the only company in the market. Your competitors run similar companies. Each company was created when the government split an existing monopoly into several smaller companies. Right now, at the beginning of the simulation, it's an even playing field. The decisions you make, however, will determine whether you rise to the top or sink to the bottom. Welcome to life in the executive suite. So, what are your responsibilities? You have 4 key departments to manage and coordinate: research and development, marketing, production, and finance. Research and development, or R&D, is where you invent and revise products. Marketing sets your product's price, determines your sales and promo budgets, and forecasts sales for the coming year. Production schedules manufacturing runs and manages the size of your plant and its automation levels. Finance ensures your company has the funds it needs to grow. Each department needs to communicate with the others to implement your strategy. But what will that strategy be? The best place to start is with analysis, breaking down both your industry and your company. Once you know the company's strengths and weaknesses and the potential of the market itself, you'll be able to create a vision for the future. Start with the Industry Conditions Report, which gives you the parameters for your specific industry. Using this report and an industry newsletter called the CAPSIM Courier, you have all the information you'll need to begin your analysis. Another useful tool to get you started is the situation analysis. This series of tables helps you determine the size of the market, how fast it's growing, and what kind of products different types of customers are looking for. Once you've completed your analysis and created your strategy, it's time to settle into your role as manager and start making decisions. As you know, the departments in your company are R&D, marketing, production, and finance. You make decisions in each of these areas using the online interface. In R&D, you decide what new products you'll introduce to the market and how you will improve the products you already have. This is the place to invent and revise. It's the marketing department's job to ensure you sell what you make. So on the marketing screen, you set your product's price, decide how much to spend on promotions in your sales force, and, most importantly, you forecast how many sensors you'll sell in the coming year. That forecast is very important because when you move to the production department, you need a very clear idea of how many sensors to make. Production is where you build your products. You can also create production lines for new products, sell off old production lines, and improve your plant by increasing automation. These can be big investments, so how do you make sure that you have the money you need to pay for them? That's up to the finance department. You run a publicly listed company. Your options for raising money are issuing more stock and borrowing long or short-term debt. On this screen, you can also pay back debt. Making sure you have the money to achieve your strategy is important every step of the way, so you also have access to a set of performance, dynamic financial statements you can look up at any time. The performance recalculate with almost every decision you make, so keep an eye on them. They will help you test out strategic ideas like, what if I introduce a new product? Or what if I double my promotions budget? The performance help answer the question, can I afford my big idea right now? Okay, now that you've had a look around the place, it's time to dive into the work. The rehearsal tutorial will help you get comfortable with the interface and show you how to make decisions. Then it's time to run the company, execute your strategy, and take on the competition. Good luck.
Okay, so I just want to jump in there and say that on the day, just because this is quite a big learning curve for you all, I'm going to guide the decision making. So put the input, like putting the decisions into the spreadsheets, I will do to ensure that all of the decisions that are made in line with the constraints of the simulation, because obviously I know it, I know what the rules are. So while I still expect each and every one of you in your assigned roles, if you're the R&D manager, then you should have a really good understanding of what products you might revise, what products are doing well in your repertoire of products. If you're the marketing manager, then you're going to set sales price and the sales force budget, as well as the promotional budget. And again, all of these departments really have to work together, and I will help guide that. But I'm not going to make the decisions for you. This is a team environment. We're making team decisions by consensus, and we'll see how we go on the day. Now, I'm hoping that this QR code works, and that you can answer these poll questions before coming to the event. So there's a couple of questions just to jog our memories to see if we were paying attention in that video. I wanted to know, products are invented and revised in which department? Was it the marketing, the production, R&D or finance department? And which one of these investments is not a function of the production department? Increasing automation, creating new production lines, or the increasing of wages? And then we've also got another couple of questions there. Again, use the QR code to enter those answers prior to the event. Now, let's talk a little bit about strategy. And again, we've got a lot to go through, and essentially I would use this tool as a whole semester worth of learning. So we're running through this in a super intensive mode. So I just kind of want you to have a really good understanding of just the basic of these concepts. And I'm sure that in your other studies, perhaps in marketing concepts, or maybe some micro economics or something like that, that you've discussed strategic direction before. So essentially, there are kind of two main branches, if you like, and there's obviously hybrids and all sorts of combinations, I guess, as well. But essentially, we've either got cost leaders, and I want you to think of Walmart, Costco, those types of business models. And then you've also got your quality differentiators. Think of your Apples and so. And I want you to kind of have an idea of what the characteristics of both companies, of both strategies are, in terms of that cost leaders tend to focus on high volume and low margin product offerings, whereas quality differentiators tend to focus on high end and high margin product offerings. So with hopefully you can use the QR code again and use, I'm trying to create a bit of a word bubble to provide other example of companies that have a cost leader approach, and then also a quality differentiator approach. And hopefully on the day we can have a little bit of a conversation about that. But I guess the importance of understanding strategy is, prior to making any kind of decisions and using any kind of accounting information as a basis of those decisions, we've got to understand what the strategic direction of the company is. So what are the objectives? What are we trying to achieve? Is it to sell more products? Is it to, again, to differentiate the product from others in the market? And obviously there are benefits and advantages and disadvantages of both approaches. And again, hopefully on the day we can discuss those a little bit further. So the accounting information that you're going to use, and I'm hoping that you're already a little bit familiar with, in that I included, or the board of directors included that in the instructional email that was sent to you. The round zero capstone courier, okay, is what you would have used some of that to complete the situation analysis. Now, the courier that is available at the start of the simulation displays the results for round 0, okay? Round 0 is year 0, when all of the companies were exactly equal just after the monopolies break up, okay? So the courier available at the start of round 2 is going to have, or it's going to demonstrate the results of the decisions that we made in round 1. And as the simulation progresses through this and different various strategies are implemented, the results among the competing companies are going to begin to vary, some doing better than others, and we'll see how our company fares with respect to the other computer companies that we're going to be competing against. The situation analysis describes current market conditions and how the industry will evolve in the next few years. It should assist you with your operational planning, okay? And again, I'm here to oversee your operational planning as well, but you should have completed that situation analysis already. And the pro forma statements that we're going to use in the simulation, as well as the published annual reports, which you can also find as part of the Capstone Courier, those are specific to your company. Okay, so the performance are projections for the upcoming year. The pro formas you have to be a bit careful with, because the pro formas are based on the assumption that you're going to sell everything that you have put into the marketing forecast. So in the marketing spreadsheet, you need to make decisions, and we're going to have a look at this in just a moment, for how many products you might sell next year. So if you have a very, very overinflated marketing forecast, then the pro formas are going to be very, very positive, because they're using the maximum that you've put into that marketing forecast. So your marketing forecasts have to be realistic, okay? In order for those pro formas to work, marketing forecasts need to be realistic and hopefully in line with what the simulation has calculated and their boundaries. Obviously, we're going to look at the annual reports to help you analyze last year's results. And we're going to also set some KPIs for our company in terms of how we're going to measure our success, okay? How are we going to measure our success? Is it by the growth of our share price, market capitalization? Is it by reducing our labor costs to the minimum amount? Is it to have really happy employees? What are our end objectives that we want to work towards? And obviously, all of those things will be your strategic direction, as well as the KPI, are going to be kind of interrelated and interconnected, and you're going to use that accounting information as a basis of all of those decisions that you're going to make. All right, so who uses accounting information? Well, in the R&D and marketing department, so R&D works with marketing to ensure that they make products that meet the customer's expectations. So we're going to look at what's called, or you should have looked at it before, is the customer buying criteria. What do your customers expect from your products? Okay. R&D is going to work with production to ensure that the assembly lines are purchased for new products. If you discontinue a product, you should notify R&D. So if you've closed a factory that no longer produces a product, you need to notify R&D of those decisions. And again, because you guys are going to be working with me, that's obviously not going to happen. Marketing will work with production to make sure manufacturing quantities are in line with forecasts. And you should have calculated market demand as part of the situation analysis. Market growth projections also help the production determine appropriate levels of capacity. So if marketing decides to discontinue a product, it has to tell production to sell off that production line. Okay, so otherwise we're still paying for the running costs of those production facilities. So we've got basically a factory that's sitting there empty, not making anything. And obviously there are costs associated with that. Marketing is going to work with finance to project revenues for each product and sets the accounts receivable policy. And obviously the accounts receivable policy is the amount of time that customers can take to pay for their purchases. If you make that too short, the customers will get upset by that and may not buy your product because they prefer a longer payback period. Okay, so changing that will have an impact on your demand. Production will tell finance if it needs money to buy additional equipment. If finance can't raise enough money, it can tell production to scale back its request or perhaps sell off some idle capacity. And then finance and all other departments, the finance department acts as the watchdog over company expenditures. Okay, finance should review marketing and production decisions. Finance should cross-check marketing's forecast and pricing. And this is why I'm saying to you, you need to use some sort of evidence-based information to be able to justify why you made the marketing forecast what you set it to be. Okay, or why did you set the prices for those products as you did? Okay, all of those things will need to be considered. Are the marketing forecasts too high or low? Okay, remembering that if the marketing forecasts are unrealistically high, that's going to have an impact on our end pro forma financials. Will the customers be willing to pay the prices that marketing has set? Are the prices too high? Is production manufacturing too many or too few units? Does production need additional capacity? Okay, are our factories too small? Maybe our product's really, really, really popular and we can't keep up with demand. Has production considered lowering labor costs by producing or by purchasing automation? Has the company thought about what the impact of increasing automation might be? So you should have used the industry conditions report to help you understand your customers. Your customers obviously are B2B customers. Those other companies use your products to make their products. Okay, so you will have traditional customers, low-end, high-end, performance and size. And each one of those customers has a different buying preference. And you should have already in your situation analysis done a consumer report on how happy customers are of your product. And we'll go through that on the day. I will provide the solutions to that situation analysis prior to the day. And on the day, we'll very briefly go through the situation analysis to see, do the customers like your product so far? Remember what a monopoly is. So a monopoly essentially is a company that has monopoly over the market, of course. But what are the characteristics of a monopoly? Do they pay particular attention to what their customers really want? Usually monopolies can set prices because where's the competition? There is no competition. So the monopolies are things like utility companies. Okay, maybe not the utility retailer, but the utility wholesaler has a monopoly on that particular industry. So in this simulation, the monopoly has been split up into 6 equal companies. And again, monopolies tend to give the customer whatever they want to, rather than what the customer is really demanding. Okay. So have a think about that when you look at your overall product offering. Are the customers within each market segment, are they happy with the product offerings that you're giving them? So again, we're using accounting information to understand the industry conditions. Price, okay, the first buying criteria. Each segment has different price sensitivities and expectations. One segment might want really inexpensive products, while another is seeking advanced technology and will be willing to pay higher prices. So when I'm referring to age, I'm talking about the age of the technology. Each segment has a different age expectation. So that is the length of time since the product was invented or revised. So one segment might want brand new technology, while another segment might prefer proven technology. So think about fire smoke detectors. Smoke detectors have used sensors for a really long time because the sensor detects the smoke and therefore sets off a siren. Do we need really high-tech technology for that? Probably not. So we could, if I was manufacturing smoke detectors, then I'm going to look for a sensor product that has a higher age, because I'm not really sensitive on how brand the technology is. What I might be sensitive to if I'm a smoke detector manufacturer is reliability. A smoke detector saves lives. You want the smoke detector to be fairly reliable, yeah? So when there's smoke, that it goes off. And I will say to you, my smoke detectors in my house are very reliable because I often make the kitchens quite smoky and they're constantly going off. So yes, reliability is really important to some segments. And reliability, okay, that is how many times does this product work before it conks out? The more reliable the product is, the greater the material cost. Okay. Positioning. So sensors vary in their size and their performance. So think of a pacemaker. A pacemaker simulates the beating of a heart, right? That needs to be very small. Okay. So the miniaturization is quite expensive. Whereas a smoke detector is it's fairly old technology and it doesn't have to be quite so small. Think about a mobile phone. Not only does it have to be small, but it also has to have very high performance again. So these are called positioning, and positioning is important to the R&D department. And in my second video that I'm going to provide to you, we're going to step through each one of the functional areas and make some decisions and have a look at the impact of those. You should have a good understanding of the perceptual map. Okay, so as you think about it, okay, and you yourself know this, customers, it doesn't matter what segment they are in, will want better performing and smaller technology over time. Okay, so this is how the simulation starts, and you can see the size of the product and the performance of the product is mapped on what is called a perceptual map, and you can see that this low-end technology product here has a rough performance of about, I don't know, 4 and a size of 18, whereas this size product has the same kind of performance, but it's a lot smaller. So you should have calculated the ideal spot or positioning for each product in your situation analysis. And that's really important for the R&D department, because if we create a product that the customer does not want, and is not within their expectations, what's going to happen? We're not going to sell the product. So not only are we not going to sell the product, our machine, we're going to have the cost of producing the product that's not selling. So we're probably going to endure a loss. And if we've done that across all of our product lines, well, then I'm going to suggest to you we've got a really, really bad couple of years financially, because those decisions will lead to some pretty poor outcomes. So, as I said, over time, your customers expect products that are smaller and faster, and this causes that segment to drift a little each month. So the ideal spots that you've calculated are for the start of the year, but as I said, they're going to, as the year progresses, the location of the circles significantly change. Okay, we're going to have a look at that when in our second video, we're going to have a look at that. So each year, some market segments demand greater improvements than others. Therefore, segments drift at different rates, and segments demanding greater improvement are going to move faster and farther than others. So as time goes by, the overlap that you just saw between those segments diminishes. So they're going to be very distinct. See, they overlap at the start, and they're going to be very distinct as the years go through. So market segments will not move faster to catch up with products that are better than a customer expects. So what that means is customers will refuse to buy a product positioned outside of those circles. Customers are only interested in products that satisfy their needs. This includes being within the circles on that perceptual map. So your R&D and marketing departments have to make sure that your products keep up with the changing customer preferences. To do this, R&D must reposition the products, keeping them within those moving segments. And that is why you calculated those ideal spots before. So what do your customers want? You know what they want. Where do we find that information? In the buying criteria, and we can find that. You should have already had a look at that in your situation analysis, but also the Courier, the Capstone Courier segment analysis pages. Okay, as you take over your company to make decisions for round one, okay, your reports reflect customers' expectations as of December 31, year zero. So yesterday's customers' expectations. So you have to think about the future customer expectation, bearing in mind that customers want faster and smaller and cheaper products as the years progress. So let's have a look at the Capstone Courier very briefly, because we're going to delve into this, and you should have familiarized yourself with what's involved in the Capstone Courier. So page 1 provides you key statistics in terms of financial statistics. Never mind these company names. They're just the names that are used within the simulation. So you can see what your ROS is at the moment, your asset turnover, leverage. Sales are around $101 million and profit of about 4 million. You've got some cumulative profit, as well as the sales and general admin costs as a percentage of sales, as well as the contribution margin. So that's the overall contribution margin. Each product has its own contribution margin. So this is on the first page of the Capstone Courier. It provides you a market share. Okay, obviously being split from a monopoly, everyone has equal market share. And currently all companies are equal. All of their prices are exactly the same. Everything's the same, including the second page is your stocks and bonds. So each company is has an opening share price of around $34.25. There are outstanding 2 million shares and a market cap of about 69 million. You've got your book value there per share, as well as your EPS and other financial statistics there. As we make decisions for our companies, we're going to see a movement in share price up or down, depending on what the market thinks, as well as we've got some loans that we've already taken out. So you can see that in 2024, there's about $7 million worth of loans that are due. 2026, about 13.9 million, and then 2028, another 21 odd million. Okay, so currently year zero was 2022. That means year one will be 2023. So then our round two decisions need to make sure that we've got $7 million to pay back that long-term loan. Okay, so this is, again, bearing in mind how all of this accounting information is used within that organization. Okay. And the finance department really needs to keep an eye on this, and we'll discuss that in a moment as well. Obviously, you've got some financial summaries in the Capstone Courier. I'm not going to go through all of that. You've got your cash flow statements, your balance sheet, and your income statement there as well. Page 4 of the Capstone Courier is our production analysis, excuse me. So the blue is how much production facilities we've got, capacity we have, and the yellow is the actual production that is taking place in our factories. So you should be able to identify, well, production capacity is more than what actual production is, which means that we've got idle capacity in our production facilities. Okay, we need to have a look at each production line to see what's going on there. And you should have already done a production and an industry analysis in your situation analysis as well. So each one of your products, your traditional low, high performance and size end products, this production analysis will show you how many products you sold the previous year. So in the case of Able, we sold 999,000 units, and we still have 189,000 units in inventory. The revision date is very important for you to pay attention to, and we're going to talk about that in the R&D module, because this revision date is so this product now is 3.1 years of age. Think about what the traditional customers want. They want a product that's about 2 years of age. So this product is getting slightly too old, isn't it? We need to pay attention to the buying criteria. And in our situation analysis that you completed, the 5th exercise on the consumer report, you should have had a look at in what areas did the products do really well? Okay, where do they score an A, a B, or a C? Where can we make overall improvements? So this production is going to schedule also shows you what the listed price of the product is, the current material costs and labor costs, the contribution margin, and whether or not there's a second shift or overtime running. So your production facilities, okay, so in the case of Able, you can produce 1.8 million units on the first shift capacity, which means the daytime shift, if we just employed one shift, can produce 1.8 million. Okay. We can run 2 shifts though. We can run a daytime shift and a nighttime shift. And in that case, we could produce 3.6 million units in total, yeah? However, we're only producing, like we've only sold 999,000. So we're not using anywhere near that capacity, are we? because our plant utilization is only 66% in this case. The plant utilization is 129% for the low end product because we're producing a lot more of that product. Okay, so these things are very important. We're going to discuss those in the R&D in the second video when we come to make some decisions. There are 5 pages of segment analysis, beginning with the traditional statistics. And you've used these traditional statistics to calculate the industry demand. And the traditional buying criteria, again, is listed in order of importance. So again, they want a true and tested technology. The importance of that is 47%. Okay, so we probably want to get that right. And they really want a price between $20 and $30. That's like 23% importance there. So the first 2 buying criteria make up 70%. So I would make sure that I give them a adequately aged technology and a better priced product. But we need to have a look at those buying criteria from our situation analysis because we did a review of each one of those. And we came up with an overall rating of each product. Now, accessibility means how, as the name would suggest, how accessible is this product? So your accessibility will be impacted by your sales force budget. So accessibility means how many stores carry your product. Okay, think of Pepsi and Coke. Often in different stores, you can only buy one or the other product. So I think in KFC you can only buy Pepsi products and McDonald's is only Coke products, and that's because both of those companies have paid through the roof to be able to secure those rights within those restaurants. So accessibility of your product, that look, is about 55% when it starts. So the more that we invest in the sales force budget, hopefully the more that the customer will be both aware of the product and be able to access the product. And then you can have a look at the actual versus the potential of market share. So if we haven't produced enough and the customers really like our product, then you will see that there will be a difference between this graph. And that's obviously the case with each one of the segments. Okay. The Capstone Courier also has other information, but for now, I think I might just leave it at that. And hopefully what we're going to do in the second video is go through some decision making. And then I'm hoping that you can complete your situation analysis as you go through. Okay, I'll see you again in the second video.